Coming up on show 694, a prototype Mercedes-Benz EQS has been spied, and that means it's not too far away. Stick around, we'll tell you more. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to EV News Daily. I've been saying that for almost 700 episodes. What? That's mad. At show 694 today, Tuesday the 11th of February. My name is Martyn Lee, and I go through every EV story, so you don't have to. Also on the podcast today, talking Nissan LEAF sales, new incentives for the Netherlands, solar is beating coal, and a new lithium-ion mega factory for South Africa. Thank you to MyEV.com for helping make this show, and the gang at MyEV.com should be enjoying a well-earned rest after the weekend's big event, EVs and Tea, at Base Camp Miami. I'm sure they were back at work today, yesterday. Of course, I'm recording this late on Monday night, so it was today. Hard at work after a fantastic weekend. Looking forward to doing it all again in 2021, which is easy for me to say. I had nothing to do with organising it. If you want to find out more about MyEV, check out MyEV.com. Lots of new Porsche Taycan videos hit the internet around the same time today. I wonder if there was some sort of embargo that was lifted at the same time. The highlight for me was the Jay Leno video. Worth checking out. If you just search Porsche Taycan, you'll see all the new YouTube videos at the top of the results. About 40 minutes long, and it's great. He goes for a drive, good old walk around. Also look out for the Brooks from DragTimes video. Top Gear released a video of the Taycan today. Like I say, lots of people seem to release Taycan videos today. I like Chris Harris at Top Gear, as in Top Gear the telly show, not Top Gear the magazine. I used to, before Chris Harris was a big telly star, I used to support his individual Patreon channel, like maybe you support my Patreon channel. I used to put my hand in my pocket and support him. I used to love his videos. But of course, on mainstream TV these days, I guess he has to say a few words and be an expert on everything. And unfortunately, in the video today, he was just really misinformed on stuff. He said, he was worried. It was about a 7-minute video talking about the Taycan. And they were saying, EVs, if they're the future, where are the heavy metals coming from? Where's all the lithium going to come from, these lithium-ion batteries? And, stuff like that is just frustrating. I mean, he's not meant to be a battery expert, and I'm not, but I know that lithium is something like the 25th most abundant element on the planet, and that actually it takes up less than 1% of the cost of a battery. If there was a battery that cost $10,000, it would be less than $100 of lithium in the battery, about 4 kilograms of lithium in a typical Nissan LEAF battery, I think. And you know what? It's so cheap to mine at the minute. Lithium can be, it's a fact, lithium can be recycled an unlimited number of times. And so when car batteries come to the end of their life, it can be reused. But it's so cheap to mine the darn stuff that it's actually more expensive to recycle it at the moment. And that needs to change as well. And of course, there's all the issues about where lithium comes from. Strange places like Western Australia, which I think is the biggest producer of lithium at the moment. It's really not an issue. I mean, if every person, man, child, woman on the planet had an EV, okay, then we need to think about where it came from. But stuff like that is just really frustrating, because I'm sure it's not anything apart from the information that either he's been presented by researchers or that he's found out for himself online. Oh, man. It's just so wrong. Anyway, it's frustrating because he has a big influence and a big follow. I like Jay Leno's video that was out of the Taycan today, because he's a real... He loves electric cars. He knows a lot about them as well. But he went out for a ride with the guy from Porsche, and he did give him a little bit of stick about why the car is called the Taycan Turbo. What with there being, no turbos.
The only thing that annoys me, and I know I'm not the only Porsche guy, and I'm sure you've heard this, is why they call it a turbo, as there's no turbo in it. I mean, I realize it's a marketing term now, but I hate when engineering terms become marketing terms, because then they have no, it's like, but I know I have people that say, I want to get one of those new electric Porsches, but I want to get the one with the turbos on. There's no turbo. It's just, you can't have a turbo with an electric engine. It's just a marketing tool. It just seems so unlike Porsche to me. That's what just sort of makes me laugh, because they've always understated everything. 0 to 60 and 3.1. Then you go, so what's really 2.9?
Of course, I'm just kind of joking and poking fun, but it is a really good... All of the videos are really good. The Stig Top Gear test track video came out, I think today. It was a couple of minutes long. And man, the Taycan looks amazing. So quick. In fact, the DragTimes video does it a lot of justice as well. They did run it down and took it to an Electrify America 350 kilowatt HPC, and it topped out about 150 kilowatt. Which is, that is slow, but there's lots of variables. Like he says, we didn't preheat coming to it. And so, you need to make sure the battery's nice and warm. You want to get that 270 kilowatts maximum charge speed out of the Taycan. But otherwise, the more I see of the car, the more I'm really, really impressed with the Porsche. Okay, the range is not the best. The efficiency is not the best. This is their first stab at making an EV though, so, benefit of the doubt. Numbers 2, 3, 4 and 5, when there are other electric cars from Porsche, we'll judge them on that. For a first attempt, it's really, really good. Well, a car that is still just the most popular EV on the planet is the Nissan LEAF. Nissan's had a rough time these days as a company. Weak sales have affected its business. The Nissan LEAF in particular isn't shining anymore. In January, LEAF sales in Japan were at an extraordinary new low. 753 of them is all they sold. 73% less year on year. It was almost 3,000 this time last year. The lowest level for any January ever, says InsideEVs. Hard to judge what 2020 is going to bring for the Nissan LEAF. If it can't sell any in its home market of Japan, where they're fiercely proud of homegrown cars, where is it going to sell? Cumulative LEAF sales in Japan are about 135,000. I think on the North American front, Nissan released a short note that, as many other car manufacturers started doing recently, and they followed, moving from monthly to quarterly sales reporting in the US market so that we can't look at their monthly figures and work out they're all doing extremely badly. It means that we can't track the results more often than once a quarter apart from making an educated guess. Lead story today, and although the B-Class electric drive and the SLS AMG electric drive preceded it, the EQC from Mercedes-Benz, that's the SUV, will go down in history as Mercedes' first mass-market electric vehicle. Well, that kick-started Daimler's newly founded EQ sub-brand of zero-emissions models. And yes, if you love racing as much as I do, I love watching Formula One. I know they burn fuel. Oh, sorry, send me to Renewables jail. I love watching Formula One, and, on the side of Lewis Hamilton's winning cars, you'll see the EQ branding. It's how Mercedes-Benz brand their hybrids and electric technology. And now we've got another letter to add to their zero emissions model list. We know there's going to be an EQA, otherwise the A-Class, and the mighty EQS, a quiet, smooth, powerful S-Class EQS. Says Adrian from Motor1.com, the S-Class of EVs has been spotted. A YouTube video was posted of the car undergoing testing in Germany on a cold day on public roads. Had a bit of camouflage on it, but you can still tell the swoopy body line of the next-gen S-Class. And there's some details that we can make out. Seeing as how the Maybach S-Class has been spied with pop-out door handles. Surprised the EQS in this guise had conventional door handles, but you never know, could get retractable ones on the final version of the Mercedes-Benz EQS. Making them flush with the door panel makes it look nice and actually helps out. It's probably a little bit, like 0.5% of aerodynamics. While the Vision EQS concept car that had been shown off at the motor shows has side cameras, this prototype that was pictured has traditional side mirrors. Cameras legal in Europe, by the way. We can have cameras here for wing mirrors, and in Japan as well, actually, like the Audi e-tron. There was the Lexus ES, the Honda E, and the much more expensive EQS will have them as well. But in the US markets, I'm afraid you'll have to settle for door mirrors. Really interesting that the pictures have come out of that car, because it means if they're testing it and doing real-world public cold weather testing, it can't be too far away. And obviously, like the first Mercedes-Benz, the EQC, another great first attempt, another nice SUV up there with the e-tron, and of course the Jaguar I-Pace, and at the top of the pile, many would say the Tesla Model X. But then you start to broaden that out, and you look at those cars that will eat up big motorway miles, like a Mercedes-Benz S-Class. You'll do it in comfort, maybe even be chauffeured occasionally in one. Man, to have electric power, because it's a big car, which means there's room for a big battery. Oh man, quiet, smooth, fast, lovely. Well, I love news of an incentive around the world. Maybe it's a local incentive that we report on, maybe at state level. And now, according to RTL, the Dutch news group, any citizen of the Netherlands who buys an electric car after July the 1st this summer gets a new subsidy. Going to be eligible to receive €4,000. About $4,500, and that can be used to cover the cost of the car, says the website bbomb.com. If anyone buys a second-hand EV, there's a subsidy for that. It's going to be €2,000 or $2,200 equivalent. Well, the country took this step to encourage drivers to move from gas vehicles to electric-powered cars, and of course, the Netherlands did just drop a bunch of tax changes on company cars, the benefit in kind rules, which means that a lot of the EV makers stacked a lot of their sales into certain countries last year, and that's why anybody that points out monthly figures, I saw some people who are kind of Tesla haters, boring, online. I don't follow them, but they get retweeted in my Twitter feed. Someone saying, "Aha! In January, in, I don't know, it was like Norway or Sweden, the e-tron, the Audi e-tron sold more than the Tesla." And you're like, yeah, just you can't look at the monthly numbers because of the way that deliveries are done, the way they're scheduled, the way that certain markets will get a batch of them. Oh my goodness, some people. We've got a job on our hands, you and I, to educate these people. It's a big job. It's going to take them. We're going to have to take them down one by one, but we'll get there. And so it's interesting that actually the Netherlands putting subsidies in place also for used EVs, and that is, to my knowledge, quite rare, actually. There's always incentives around new cars, new EVs, but a subsidy on used ones? I mean, maybe it'll just mean that the dealers add $2,000 to the car and you end up paying the same price equivalent. I don't know how it will all shake out. I do know that the €4,000 subsidy is only valid on cars that cost up to €45,000. That's about $50,000 equivalent. So the scheme targets slightly lower end buyers of the EV market. According to the government, it's going to get drivers out of fossil gobbling polluters quicker. And to prevent fraudulent claims of the subsidy, used cars must be bought using government standards from specialist and authorised dealers. According to the source, the Dutch government is also planning to provide non-financial incentives to EV buyers. The government also want car makers to give guarantees on how often there'll be software updates over the air and EV battery health for drivers. Which is great. I love it that even governments are getting involved and being like, does your car do over-the-air updates? Well, it better do. I love that. And as for long-term battery health, we've seen those 500,000-mile Teslas. I told you the story over the weekend of the 300,000 plus kilometre Renault Zoe that had been used as a taxi in Turkey, rapid charged about twice a day, and it still had pretty much 100% state of health on the battery, and it's just fantastic. I mean, the batteries are holding up. Okay, so we had some Nissan LEAF problems years ago in places like Nevada where it is very hot. Largely, battery problems have all gone away now. Well, record high renewables growth is transforming Australia's electricity landscape, pushing out coal plants and lowering prices and emissions. According to Bloomberg today, solar and wind output during the fourth quarter within the 5 jurisdictions that make up the national electricity market increased about 40% from a year earlier. The Australian energy market operator said today in its quarterly report that helped cut power generation emissions 5% to the lowest in data going back to 2001, and it slashed the wholesale prices by almost a fifth. Well, Prime Minister Scott Morrison's government has faced increased criticism, they say, over its lack of coherent climate policy following the devastating bushfires that swept the country this summer. Over the weekend, it confirmed its staunch support of the coal industry in the face of a growing backlash against the fuel by giving financial backing to a study into a new plant. Pop a link to Bloomberg if you want to read the rest of the article. Good on the Aussies, though, embracing renewal. And so you should embrace renewal. You've got all the sun. It's 3 degrees here right now. I drove home today. My dashboard was saying 3 degrees. It's so nippy. And it's the summertime there. You've got all the sun. Please make the use of it. Another country that can get pretty hot, South Africa. The Mega Million Energy Company. Great name, by the way. What should we call the company? Let's call it the Mega Million. All right. The Mega Million Energy Company has outlined its plans at the Batteries and Electric Vehicles Conference recently hosted. The Mega Million Company wants to be Africa's first large-scale manufacturer of lithium-ion cells and battery packs to bring down prices and catalyse mass adoption of energy storage in Africa, writes Clean Technica. Mega Million hopes to leverage abundant mineral resources in the southern African region. What do you mean abundant resources? I thought the Top Gear hosts told us that there weren't any out there. The chosen form factor is cylindrical cells, the 2680 actually diameter, 26 millimeters diameter, length 80 is why they call it 2680 cells. Bit nerdy, I know. Using the NMC chemistry of the cathode, that's nickel, manganese, cobalt. Great news. Always great news. I love a good battery story because we talk about the cars a lot, but then, if we're talking about batteries and storage, it's good to know the ecosystem is rising with the tide of EVs. And I love that. Right, Daimler has opened a new charging park for electric commercial vehicles at the Stuttgart headquarters. Daimler trucks and Mercedes-Benz vans will jointly use the charging stations for its electric test vehicles. The new charging park is going to be a further step to electrify their strategy in their corporate activities. The innovative charging stations have a total output of 1 megawatt, distributed to 2 DC fast charging stations that are going to charge at 300 kilowatts each for the commercial trucks they make, and 3 more charging at 150 kilowatts. So Mercedes-Benz trucks and Daimler, once again, increasing their commitments into electrifying all forms of transport. Final story then, a press release that I got sent to my inbox today. Gordon Murray Design. Yes, the very famous Gordon Murray Design. And its consortium partners, Delta Motorsport, are set to unveil a new, unique, versatile, what they call vehicle platform. Of course, it's electric. It's going to be demonstrated at the Move 2020 show in London. The platform is called Motiv, M-O-T-I-V, part funded through the UK government's programmes. The new platform, they say, breaks the mould for future mobility development with a cost-effective, ultra-lightweight quadricycle vehicle platform. Of course, a quadricycle doesn't actually have to undergo the same rules and regs as if it were a car, alongside safety credentials, they say, which are industry leading. The new fully electric unit is targeting significant cost savings and improved refinement over other cars a bit like it, to reduce emissions and congestion in city centres. Why do we all drive massive cars with 3, 4, 5 seats in the back, unoccupied, and 1 driver? Fully electric powertrain, very compact footprint. It's 1.6 metres high, 2.5 metres long, 1.3 metres wide, 20 kilowatt electric motor, 17 kilowatt hour liquid cooled battery pack. Yes, love a bit of thermal management, and a range of 100 Ks. It'll do 40 mile an hour. That's 65 Ks. Look, this is for errands and running around cities and urban areas. This is not your road tripper. Equipped with CCS fast charging, and I'll pop a link in the show notes if you want to read more from that press release. Right, question of the week this week. So, yeah, talking of road trips, I'm thinking of driving from where I live, the south coast of Great Britain, in the county of Dorset, driving along the coast to the Channel Tunnel, heading to Calais, straight down through France, skirt the Alps, down through Milan, northern Italy, and to Pisa. I'm thinking of doing about 1,028 miles. Google Maps says 16, 17 hours, but it doesn't know that I need to stop and charge. Probably quite a lot. So, I'm thinking about doing a big road trip. What's the biggest road trip you've done in an EV? And if you haven't done one, what would be? Thinking about the distance travelled, what would be the farthest you would go? Let me know. Email me hello@evnewsdaily.com or leave a comment on my YouTube channel. Well, thank you to 231 patrons of the podcast. You do keep me going. Couldn't do this show without you, and the archive is online thanks to your funding. The archive is at evnewsdaily.com if you want to check it out, and you can check out Patreon, patreon.com/evnewsdaily if you'd like to support, maybe at producer or executive producer level, maybe even higher. Feel free if you want to get your name read out at the weekends. 693 previous shows in the archive, and if you cannot ever share this podcast with somebody who might be interested, please do let me do forward it on, And if you want to, let me know who you sent it to, and I'll give them a mention or kind of groups, EV groups, and local association and stuff like that. It'd be good if you could share the word amongst yourselves. Have a wonderful day. I'll catch you tomorrow. Remember, there's no such thing as a self-charging hybrid.